it's time to talk quarterbacks. Let's talk Trey Lance. We can talk about Nate Sudfeld, Brock Purdy a little bit at the end, but they don't matter. Trey Lance completing 50% of his throws. We talked about this on Spaces. There's a debate as to how many drops there have been. But what's more relevant is the fact that it seems like he's putting the ball on receivers' hands a lot more often than that completion percentage would indicate. What are you seeing from Lance?
When you talk about Trey Lance, it was a little bit of a surprise. I didn't think it was going to be like this. The accuracy deep is something that really has surprised me. He's been very accurate deep. And by very accurate, if you're 50% completion percentage going
that's
deep,
very accurate.
That's very good.
Yes.
And Trey Lance
40%. I think they want like 44% ish,
somewhere around 44. So if you're 50%, that's good. I haven't updated the numbers, but I know after day 4 he was 6 of 12 and then 8 of 15 after day 5. So he has been above 53%, barring the last 2 days. Yesterday was the one off day that I've seen deep, but Trey Lance has consistently been able to hit receivers deep. And while the completion, I don't even care about the completion percentage, the accuracy on the throws are there. Like I remember the one day I continuously point to, day 2, one of the bigger install days, he was 6 of 14. That's horrible. But then when you look at it, 3 of those throws were deep and on the money. One to Brandon Ayuk, where Emmanuel Mosley got the PBU as he pinned him to the sideline. Ayuk tried to keep 2 feet in, and then Mosley hit the ball out. Then Jawan Jennings on the right side against Travarius Ward.
Right.
Jennings tried to corral it.
And he hit him in the shoulder. Yeah.
It did. Yep. I thought it was a good play by the defense. I called that a PBU, but you could see.
Great catch. Great catch. But really, the ball placement couldn't have been better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the third one was the McLeod one where Hufanga got the PBU on there. So like overall, it's been a couple of good plays. Really a couple of good throws. And Trey Lance's deep accuracy has me thinking the 49ers install is not going to change. But when you see the throws, I know there's a compilation out there where Brandon Ayuk is consistently open deep and Jimmy just doesn't throw it, even though he's the earlier read. You're going to see those throws be a lot more attempted because Lance is clearly more comfortable deep than he is more comfortable in the intermediate routes.
And that's his guy. Like Ayuk is his guy. The way I keep going back to Kaepernick and Crabtree feels very similar. That's who we trust. I mean, Lance, he can be a little scattershot with his ball placement. Ayuk is the ultimate. I mean, he can catch whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, you could throw whatever. Debo doesn't have the long arms, doesn't have the short hands. Great player though. I'm just curious to see how anyway, we're talking quarterbacks here. Trey Lance, the coach says Lance helps the run game tremendously in terms of keeping defenses honest. You can't load the box anymore. That's interesting. Early last year, the threat of no speed made it easy to clog the interior. Cutback lanes are going to be huge. See, that's funny because what I was thinking is you can't play too deep against. They will kill you if you play too deep. They'll just run it every time. I would love to see a team try to stop this run game with 2 deep safeties when the Niners are getting all 11 players involved in the run game. Good luck with that.
I'll give you a beautiful example because we have one game last year. One of the biggest 2 deep guys is Lovie Smith. He plays an incessant amount of cover 2. And who did Trey Lance go against last year against the Houston Texans? Lovie Smith's 2 deep defense. So what did Trey Lance do that game? 16 to 23. 248 passing yards. The yards per attempt were extremely high in that game, but the run game was also very efficient in that game. Overall, that's just an example of how Lance is able to beat 2 deep. And the one interception that he had was a bad play call because you should not have run that. Like in the 49ers playbook, that play is specifically designed against cover 1. You shouldn't have run it against a 2 deep look. So that's some context on that play. But overall, when you talk about Trey Lance, he's able to carve that defense up. He's shown it before. And if you run a single high look on him, well, he's got the arm strength where, he can punish you deep.
Yeah. So you would say that, because it seems like what some people are doing is they'll just release the stats from practice and be like, hey, we were tough on Jimmy. Got to keep that same energy with Trey. And the implication is he's having a bad camp. I don't really feel he's having a bad camp. I think the offense is overmatched and he's actually doing some impressive things given what he's up against. How would you characterize his – I asked Brian Grease today to assess his performance. He's like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? I'm asking you, Rohan. How would you assess his performance?
I also agree. I don't think he's had a bad camp. I don't think he's had an amazing camp. I don't think it's somewhere in the middle. I think he's had a camp that you expect a second-year quarterback with no experience to have, and maybe even better given the deep accuracy, right? Like I said, I don't sugarcoat it. I preface it with details and I try and bring context in the plays. He's been pretty accurate deep. Some of the balls have been incompletions, but intermediate wise, he's thrown balls behind receivers at times, which has been one of an issue. And he's also thrown balls a little in front of receivers. That's where he has to really develop his touch intermediate wise. And it's going to be his biggest battle because unlike Garoppolo, whose arm strength necessarily isn't that much. So he has a specific timing. Trey Lance can really tone down his arm strength at times and also tone up the velocity on his balls. So he has to seriously consider how to balance the touch and how to balance the velocity on those throws in the intermediate range. So that's the important part.
Real quick, what have you seen from Jimmy on the side throwing? What do you think?
I've seen a lot of handshakes with fans. I've seen a lot of smiles. That was the big thing. Like I was surprised the first day he came out when he was running sprints, and it was funny because when you saw Debo, right? Debo did not smile during his time. He was just doing his workout, look locked in. Jimmy was smiling during his sprints. He gave a little acknowledgement to Sourdough Sam and then continued.
Pathetic. Okay, Nate. I'm sorry. It's a little pathetic. Nate Sudfeld.
Nate Sudfeld's interesting. So completion percentage has waned in the last couple of days. But I'll start with this. He's been by far the second best quarterback on the team. And
no question.
It's not even because of accuracy. It's because of traits. Brock Purdy cannot throw the ball deep. Like he tried twice and they were both intercepted because the ball.
And he gets his whole body into it too. It's like,
it was so funny.
And it goes like
on one of the plays, right? It was like he got sacked, but he's like, nah, I'm going to throw it deep. Marcus Johnson was wide open, 40 yards down the field. Purdy goes to the right. He sets up, does a little two-step, goes right into throw, and the ball just I was like, oh wow, he's gonna hit him. This is gonna be a touchdown. And then he throws the ball, and the ball is in the air for 5-7 seconds. And Taylor Hawkins, who was on the right side of the field, he runs and then he ends up jogging and then has the interception. It was an interesting play.
What do you think was going through Brock Purdy's mind? Touchdown! Oh wait. Sorry, Brock. Yeah, okay. So enough of Brock. We need to talk about Brock. What do you think of Nate, though?
Yeah, so Nate Sudfeld is interesting because he's like a check down master, right? He loves throwing the check down, loves throwing the flat yard. But the 49ers obviously tried to ramp up their install, tried to throw deep. And I applaud Nate Sudfeld for at least trying to throw deep. And even when you're supposed to throw deep, not throw the check down. In practice, at least, right? The completion percentage has waned over the last couple of days. There was a 3 interception day. And to me, what his performance has told me is he's got the arm strength to throw it deep, but he's just not an accurate deep ball thrower. He continuously overthrows quarterbacks, and the plays that he makes are because receivers make great contested catches deep. Brandon Ayuk had a great contested catch on George Odom on one of the plays. He's just not accurate throwing deep, and that's what it's not that it worries me because I don't care about the quarterback number 2 on a team really, because when your starter goes down, your season in a way is over. But Sudfeld, he in my opinion is the epitome of a game manager because he can throw checkdowns. He can probably hand off the ball. At least I hope he can hand off the ball and things like that. So he's been a guy who's pretty much been a short thrower.
Here's where the backup matters though. If the quarterback doesn't go down for the year, it's 3 games.
Correct.
If you lose all 3 games, that could be the difference. You might miss the playoffs. And last year with Arizona, who cares? They didn't do anything in the playoffs. But Colt McCoy got him through that stretch.
Correct.
Can Sudfeld do that? I mean, Lance had a must-win game last year as a backup. I'm asking you. Hard to say.
I think, look, obviously we can't say with pure definition, but I'll say this. If Kyle Shanahan could win with Nick Mullins and with CJ Beathard at times, I'm thinking Nate Sudfeld can carry them through a 3-game stretch where you could rely on the run game. And the difference between those 2 quarterbacks, they're more accurate. Sudfeld has better traits. So at least in a way, it might not be the best play, but at least in a way you can show that you can threaten the ball deep as opposed to the other guys where you all the focus is on the intermediate and short range, right? Because Sudfeld can at least air it.
Mullins would throw that son of a bitch out there. He didn't care. But
he didn't care.
I do think that Sudfeld is better than Beathard ever was.
No question. That's true. And I mean,
he throws a really nice spiral, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He spins it, man.
The ball might not end up in the place you want it to be, but it's a nice throw. It's a nice
majestic
throw. Yeah.
All right. So sorry, Nate. He's actually having a decent camp, and It does. He's got to play with Debo a lot last few days. That seems
That's
they have a nice
interesting.
connection.
Yeah, they do. And that's where his best throws have been. I think the one thing about Sudfeld that I'm a little more confident about, intermediate wise, he's had a couple of good throws. He's been able to throw it a little bit in tight windows because his velocity is a little more, given how massive of a quarterback. He's a mammoth. He's like 6'5", 230 pounds or something like that. And his velocity on some of those throws, intermediate, are nice. But overall, the main thing about him is that he can't throw deep.
Yeah. That's true.